This is an important day as we think back on the last 10 months, the urgency of the situation, the lives that have been lost. This, if there is an authorization of vaccine, will be the beginning, hopefully, of the end of this, that we can put this behind us and get to a more normal and healthy life. And, you know, my heart just goes out to the people who have suffered from COVID-19. And I think that's what makes it most emotional, is the fact that if this does go forward, it is a big day for our country.
And joining us now to talk more about the race to a coronavirus vaccine is CBS News correspondent Skyler Henry. Hi, Skyler. Great to see you. So can you break down what the FDA is looking at today to determine if the Pfizer vaccine can get that emergency use authorization?
Well, hey, Tanya, good afternoon to you. Well, what we're looking at here is a group of about 23 panelists made up of medical professionals and doctors, all of which who have different backgrounds, who can come in and weigh whether or not this coronavirus vaccine from Pfizer is actually safe here. And they're actually poking and prodding here to see if there are any potential red flags with this coronavirus vaccine. One of the things that you have to pay attention to here, and I think arguably this is one of the first times in American history that the American public is actually watching a vaccine be created from conception all the way until potential approval in a manner like this. And so what comes with that is a lot of scrutiny, as well as a lot of public uncertainty about the efficacy of a vaccine like this. Now, experts have said that this vaccine is about 90% effective, but you have a lot of people who still are skeptical, given the fact that this vaccine has been fast-tracked to a certain degree. It's why the FDA is introducing this panel in such a manner like this, to make sure that this vaccine is not only efficient, but as safe as possible. It's also why we've seen medical professionals like Dr. Anthony Fauci come out to say that once the FDA, if and when they do approve this vaccine, he'd be among one of the first to actually take a vaccine publicly, to try to reassure the public that it is something that that is safe to take. But again, this is why this is all happening here. We should see some sort of decision from this panel a little later on this afternoon as to whether they approve this vaccine, yay or nay. Could be interesting to see what happens.
And Skyler, as you know, 2 people in the United Kingdom did experience a reaction to the vaccine. What do we know about that, and how is that coming into play for today's meeting?
Right. Well, that was 2 instances of a handful of healthcare workers who had an allergic reaction to the vaccine. They were among the first to receive it in the UK. And so the English officials are actually warning that anyone who has allergic reactions to medicine, vaccines, even food, should actually wait in terms of receiving the Pfizer coronavirus vaccine. And so what comes with that, I think, is actually a level of hesitation, and also some concerns coming from those on this panel in terms of those who are creating a bit of hesitation around this panel, around the coronavirus vaccine, I should say. And so that is why we're starting to see the questions that we're seeing on not only what are some of the side effects from the vaccine in and of itself, but is it actually safe? Is it safe for people who are under the age of 16? We also heard from one of the folks who raised concerns in the panel discussion earlier today as to whether it's safe for pregnant women as well. So I think all of these concerns have to be weighed by this panel. It's something that I think we will see come in the next few days.
And Skyler, once a vaccine is approved, how long before we realistically seeing it rolled out, and how are communities and medical facilities preparing? Because of course there'll be that preliminary rollout to the frontline workers, the elderly, those who are considered high risk. But what about that second wave rollout for the average American?
Right. Right. Well, if this panel approves this decision, what we could see is the entire FDA say that we want to move forward with this vaccine as soon as tomorrow even. And really what happens there, those are the final dominoes that will fall to begin this process, this logistical feat, if you will, of trying to distribute these tens of millions of vaccine doses across the country. And I think that is something that we have to pay attention to, particularly as it pertains to the next few days. Which cities, which states get how many doses? We've seen city state and health officials all come out in recent days to say that they have plans in place to try to make sure they have all the logistical concerns out of the way, and one of which is making sure that they have the proper storage facilities, to make sure that they have the suitable areas provided to make sure that they can actually receive these coronavirus vaccines, and to make sure that they are given out safely as well. But once that happens, once we start to see that first wave of people that are being treated, then it's really about vaccine creation and figuring out who needs to get them first. Obviously, first responders are among the group that needs to get them initially, transportation officials as well, those of which who come into contact with people on a regular basis and have to do so in terms of their employment. But then after that, then we'll start to see kind of what happens a little later on down the road. A lot of officials are expecting that to happen sometime in the late spring in terms of when we'll actually start to see a full rollout of this process. But it all remains to see. The crescendo here is where the decision will be made this afternoon in terms of what this panel will decide, and then from there we'll have to wait and see.
All right, Skyler Henry, thank you so much.